The difficulty is that we're only one chunk of state government. We're almost asking the rest of state government systems to be modified to meet our unusual needs. And anytime you start modifying a system like that, it gets very difficult and it can get fairly expensive. So, as I say, I think there's the possibility we can solve the problem where we can pinpoint it and do it a little quicker, but ultimately it may require that we simply start paying on the last day of the month, which is something the employees have not wanted, but that may be the price they have to pay.
Without this voice you're hearing, these men probably would not be working. The voice, Luciano Pavarotti, and this is the building he helped erect. It's the new cardiovascular facility at St. Anthony's Hospital. This morning, wrapped in a heavy overcoat and muffler to protect that voice from the chill, Pavarotti sat and watched the unveiling of the Pavarotti Pavilion. The master gave a benefit concert last night to help raise money for the new medical center and was honored this morning for his effort. When Pavarotti finally came to the podium, he had nothing but humble and gratifying words for the audience.
I'm just a singer. I'll try to do my best, but that thing is so humanitarian, then made me thank God every morning even more than I do for the gift He gave to me.
After the speech, it was time to go inside. But Pavarotti only got as far as the lobby before being swamped by fans. So he pulled up the nearest chair and went to work signing his autograph. Admirers crowded and stood patiently amidst the shouts and flashes of cameras. But for most, it was worth the wait. Kevin Ogle, Action 4.
Like most fast food restaurants in Oklahoma City, this Wendy's has a hard time finding reliable employees. Businesses like this one depend on teenage workers to get the job done. Just down the street from Wendy's is a McDonald's, a Kennedy's, and a fast food barbecue restaurant. All four of these establishments compete for employees. Today, the going rate for cooks, busboys, and waitresses ranges anywhere from $3.35 an hour to $4.50. But President Reagan wants to change all that. To stimulate the teenage job market, the president will propose a plan to cut the minimum wage for teenagers to $1.67 an hour. Most businesses could hire 2 teenage workers for the price of 1. But this plan doesn't sit well with many teens. They say they have to make a living, too.
I don't think that's fair because, I mean, we work just the same as everybody else does. You know, we deserve equal pay, so I don't think it's fair.
I can't work for that little. I got payments to make, insurance pay, got car to fix, a lot of other things. I got lunch to pay for, so $1.67 wouldn't cut it at all.
$1.67? Telling me crazy. Coming up, no. Would you work it that much? No, I wouldn't work that much. It's got to be up to $3.70. They should raise it up, try to help us out, instead of lowering it down.
An unscientific poll of some of the city's largest teen employers indicates that the sub-minimum wage plan just won't work. Many teens that work at grocery stores as stockers or bag boys have their own union, and all of the employees at this Wendy's make more than the minimum wage. At Wendy's, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
It's been a grand ball so far, Oklahoma style, with music ranging from country and western to the big band sound, and Nigh supporters dancing away the evening waiting for the governor and Mrs. Nigh. The highlight of the evening came a little after 8:30, when the couple the ball was honoring was escorted onto the dance floor by a 77-member marching trombone band, one for each county in the state. Nigh carried all 77 counties in his historic landslide victory for a second term. After wishing well to the other men and women who were honored today, the ones elected or re-elected with Nigh in November, the governor and his first lady took to the dance floor for a solo dance.
In just a few weeks, Oklahoma City school students will be able to get help with their homework by dialing a teacher. A similar program is already in effect in some cities such as Wichita, Kansas. Teachers man the phones to help students with their homework. For 3 hours a night, 3 days a week, teachers will help students kindergarten through 12th grade.
What it's telling you there, Benny, is to subtract a negative number. And that's just like adding a number.
That's more of a verb. That's an action word.
The Dial a Teacher program will help students baffled with a multitude of homework problems. The program is sponsored by the American Federation of Teachers. Union President Dave Renfro says the program will benefit everyone.
It'll be a payoff to the kids in that they get the help when normally they wouldn't by sitting at home. They otherwise might watch television because they can't figure out their homework. It'll be a payoff to the parents because the parents will have someone to turn to, and rather than saying to their child, "Oh, I'm sorry, I just can't help you," they have someone to turn to, and they can watch their child grow educationally, and they'll be able to be a part of that.
Dial a Teacher will begin in Oklahoma City January 20th. For more information, call 236-1421. Debbie Mash, Action 4.
And he's a large oil man here in town, so I'm sure something will come about. That's the only, that's one of the reasons I did it anyway. Headed north. Well, I lived in Buffalo. You can't tell me nothing about snow too much. I tell you.
Bar in your house? Or where
they were doing some.
Again, I don't really think that anybody is protected from it. I think that a lot of it has to be financial planning, management, and what have you. We're doing the best we can with what we have, and if that's good enough, it's good enough, and if it's not, then there's not much else you can do. I think that with the acreage positions that we have and the things that we are hoping that we can get completed will put us in a better situation, but until that's done, I think that we'll just be quiet and stay in business.
Just last week, Spencer Police Chief Larry Hanna resigned. Tonight, during a hastily called meeting, Hanna withdrew that resignation. The reason? Community support.
We want you to stay, okay? What will it take to get you to stay in the game? How can we get you to stay here?
It's not in such a state of deterioration that it cannot be worked out. Like I say, the support given here by your attendance tonight is overwhelming.
The Spencer community pledged to help support Chief Hanna in his disagreements with city government. The citizens were quite vocal during tonight's meeting, expressing nothing but good words for the Spencer chief. Hannah told the crowd he wants to see more town meetings between the citizens, the police force, and the city council. The supporters at tonight's meeting say they are determined to make that come to pass. Chief Hannah was surprised at the widespread support.
I didn't expect this. I didn't ask for it, but I'm glad you're interested.
Dan Slocum, Action 4 in Spencer.
And then, wait, we're losing David here. Hold on.
Yeah, but
Hang on a minute.
hang on a minute.
All four of them, and they're holding close together.
There
I'll try to see if that isn't it. Let me get my fingers under there, too. No, I want yours under there, but I also want mine under there. He says, my goodness. Just a minute. You're wet. That's there you go. There you go.
Well, it's not very thriving right now because I've only taken care of a few kids, but I hope to take care of more.
Thoroughly convinced that it's poor people, people who are at the bottom of the economical toll, who are taking the blunt of layoffs. I understand that the hospital will be laying off approximately 70 other people very shortly, and I have grave concern when they're laying off people who make $800 and $850 a month and who are the sole supporters of their families, and then he turns around and hires people and pays them $59,000 a year when they were not making $20,000 in December, people who could do without a job.
Reflecting back on the past year, I would never want to go through it again. My children and my husband and I have been through sheer hell. And this is physically, emotionally, financially, you name it, we've been through it.
It's been some time now since those in the home building and home selling industries have had something to smile about. They're smiling now, though, and so are those who've been putting off buying a home. Interest rates, averaging now at a low 12.5%, are adding fuel to a fire that for some time has only smoldered. In Oklahoma City, home sales are up 10% over last year, with peak periods in June and December. Low interest rates help there, and so have in-town moves. Total number of homes sold, 7,648. 1982 ended with a bang after a slow 81. What will 83 hold for home sales? Well, there's optimism now, but no crystal ball predictions. Dan Slocum, Action 4.
You could make them.
The Secretary may have overstated it in terms of the rhetoric that he used, and I don't think we should now say we're going to end all kinds of Indian programs all at once overnight. But I think it is important that we continue the trend to return more of the decision-making back to the Indian people themselves and back to the tribal governments themselves.
The money will go back into the library system. It will go for each branch will get to choose something that they would like to have purchased for their branch, say an atlas or a paperback stand, something that they're not able to get out of their normal budget. We're also going to use some of it to bring in special speakers for the librarians so that they can get a little extra knowledge that the library maybe can't get out of their annual budget.
In 1979, lawmakers in Oklahoma said producers of old gas wells whose costs were low could not sell gas at the same price as producers of new wells whose costs were high. In an extreme case, a well drilled 40 years ago could produce gas for $1 a unit. Costs for a new deep well are as high as $9 a unit. Under a price escalator clause in most gas contracts, the old $1 gas price could be raised to match the new $9 gas price. $8 of pure gravy for the producer at the cost of the consumer. But the Oklahoma legislature said no. Senate Bill 49 exempted old gas from the escalator clause over the protest of producers. Representative Cal Hobson, who carried the bill through the House, says he knew the bill would be controversial, but he believes it is one of the best laws in years.
So there is not another piece of legislation since I've been here that has had a more direct monetary effect in a positive way on Oklahoma ratepayers. But I've felt all along that we acted constitutionally, and the Supreme Court has reaffirmed that today, not by a 5-4 vote or a 6-3 vote, but by 9-0, and that's very satisfying.
Lawmakers believe the law has saved Oklahoma consumers as much as $1 billion in gas prices that didn't increase. If the Supreme Court had ruled against the law, gas companies would have had to pay producers that $1 billion plus interest. That would have meant large increases in the consumers' utility bills. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
Wines made from costly varietal grapes, harvested in some of the world's finest growing regions. An oak-aged Chardonnay, a deep, full-flavored Burgundy, a light, dry Chenin Blanc, a varietal Rosé, all from America, all from California.
Other media from standpoint of advertising. We are waiting at this time for the Attorney General to receive the full report from the 10th Circuit. And when they do receive it, they will direct us and advise us the legal steps that we are required to take in order to enforce this new decision. I believe our first effort will be to advise and inform, that we wouldn't go out immediately and take any action until the companies that buy advertising are informed and that the media that are restrained are informed.
I really don't have any plans. I haven't put an application in anywhere else at this time. And I'm hoping they might have a recall, I hope. But when I took this job, I thought it would be a long-term type job. Most people do, you know. But who would ever thought the state would have laid you off? But this will be the first time in 5 years that I won't have had my police commission.
I think it's a part of the overall concept that we have supported for a number of years, and that is we would like to see education funded adequately, statewide, without regard to the wealth or lack of wealth of an individual district. And you know, you can't, you can call it taking from the rich and giving to the poor if you want to, but we support and always have supported the idea that education is a statewide function, and that the quality of education that a child receives should not depend on the wealth or lack of wealth of his parents or the district in which he lives.
In November of 1981, sagging sales forced General Motors to shut down the second shift at its Oklahoma City plant. But when the second shift went down, so did a lot of support businesses in the city. Santa Fe is a big transporter of GM products in and out of Oklahoma City. They suffered along with the second shift workers. But all that's changed. Santa Fe may have to hire new employees to keep up with the new production. Subcontractors of every kind should see more business in the coming year, and an influx of transient labor coming to GM will need a place to live in an already tight housing market. According to Will Bowman of the Employment Security Commission, the GM callback will mean more than $80 million for Oklahoma City.
I think that a plant of this size, with a second shift returning, would generate jobs probably for 1,000, 1,200 or so secondary and tertiary workers at other establishments such as suppliers, subcontractors, transportation industry, things of this sort. So their payroll, combined with the payroll of the General Motors second shift, might stimulate the economy to the tune of $80 to $100 million in a calendar year.
The 2,800 second shift workers are not the only ones to benefit from the recall. At a time when state lawmakers are embroiled in a tough budget battle, the extra money that those jobs will bring to the state will be greatly appreciated in the state coffers. At the state capitol, Kurt Autry, Action 4.
Despite the cold and rainy weather, protesters were determined to put up picket signs in front of the adult toy box. Demonstrators wanted to show their anger at the store for selling the video game Custer's Revenge. The game depicts a nude Custer chasing and assaulting a nude Indian maiden. Today, 24 of the games were to arrive because the store is out and there's a back order. But the store manager says after today, he's through with Custer's Revenge.
Once they're sold, there'll be no more. I don't really need these kind of hassles, to tell you the truth.
That answer does not satisfy the Native American Center. The center feels the game has no business on the market.
One of those games being sold in our community is one too many. You know, it's totally degrading to the Indian citizens of this state. It's totally degrading to all women in this state. That game is sexist, it's racist, and it promotes sexual violence against women, and there's no way that a community can remain healthy with that kind of trash coming in.
The store says it offered the center an opportunity to split the cost of the games already on order. That way, at least the games would not be available to buy in Oklahoma City. Indians say there was never such an offer made, and they wouldn't want Custer's Revenge in their possession anyway. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Northwest Oklahoma City.
But for whatever good that may come of this cat and dog ordinance, I want to make it crystal clear. In case somebody ever wanted to be against me because I was against cats and dogs, I want to make it crystal clear that I'm going to vote for it.
Guy Moore testified he paid kickbacks to Ralph Adair in December 1978, December 1979, and July 1980. He said the payments totaled more than $8,000. The government played audio tapes of conversations between Moore and Adair. The audio tapes were made after Moore agreed to cooperate with the government. On the tapes, Adair says the payments were made in connection with a land deal between Moore and the former commissioner. Adair said the money he received was not a kickback. He also said the same thing in a taped interview with FBI agents. Then late this afternoon, the government played a videotape. The videotape was made 10 months before Moore agreed to work for the government and more than a year before the taped conversations involving Ralph Adair. The tape shows Moore talking to a man who claimed to be a material supplier. Actually, the man was an FBI agent. On that tape, and again today, Moore has a different version of the land deal. Moore says the land was given to him as a commission because he helped Adair sell attractive land. Moore testified the only money he ever gave to Adair was for kickbacks.
Something's needed to encourage people to keep how much is produced at each well. And quite a problem. Obviously, the exemption was designed to encourage people to keep those stripper wells producing. It was also designed to allow operators to go back in, spend some money, work the well over, use some enhanced recovery to increase the production of those wells. And what's going to happen is the operator's going to think about it. He's going to realize that if his well is producing 8 or 9 barrels per day, it really doesn't make any sense to up that production to 11 because that means that he, again, will qualify for windfall profits taxes, and he'll essentially lose money. So we're going to lose production as a result.
Oklahoma County is expecting big problems in the near future when it comes to taking care of juveniles. The Department of Human Services was paying the county $498,000 a year. That money helped pay probation officers' salaries. But since sales tax collections are down, DHS says it must cut its funding. DHS summed it all up by writing the county, quote, "We are glad we've been able to help. Now we are no longer able and cannot make any payment after December 31st, 1982, end quote. The county is thoroughly confused about what is going on.
At this point, it's kind of confusing because on the one hand, they send us a contract for last year. On the other hand, we have not received another contract for the calendar year of December, beginning 1 January. So on the one hand, they've been sending us contracts. On the other hand, they're saying, no, we're not going to do anything. We've been kind of waiting at this point to get a complete answer.
Without funding from DHS, the county may have to lay off some juvenile probation officers. The American Correctional Association recommends that each probation officer sees no more than 20 juveniles. But because of a tighter budget, Oklahoma County foresees one probation officer handling 70 juveniles. Ed Stewart, Action 4.